Let's bring in Republican Congressman from New York, Mike Lawler. He'll be attending the big, beautiful bill signing. He also serves on the Financial Services and Foreign Affairs Committee. Congressman, thanks for joining us on this 4th of July. Did you ever think that you'd be standing at the White House for this bill signing on the 4th of July?
Well, Speaker Johnson had made clear that was the goal and the objective to get it done by July 4th. And so obviously this is going to be a momentous occasion. Not just for the president and for Congress, but for the American people. This is the single largest middle-class tax cut in American history. When you look at the extension of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, the enhanced senior deduction to offset Social Security taxes, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, the increased cap on SALT to $40,000, a 4x increase that will allow folks to deduct their state and local taxes on their federal income tax returns. This is a big win for the American people, inclusive, of course, of border security, strengthening our military, increasing domestic production of energy, and starting to right-size the federal government and rein in the reckless spending that we have seen, especially under the Biden administration, increasing spending by $5 trillion. We're $36 trillion in debt, running $2 trillion deficits and paying $1 trillion in interest. We're starting to right that ship. And make necessary reforms to protect vital programs like Medicaid, like SNAP for the long term, to make sure that those Americans who need it get it, and those who are ineligible, like illegal immigrants, no longer receive benefits that they are not entitled to.
One of the big provisions in this bill for you was that increase in what state and local taxes people pay. They can deduct from their federal taxes. Huge issue in the New York area and some of the other large city areas in the country. If you hadn't gotten that 5-year boost, is this something you could have supported?
I was very clear from the start. If that was not part of the bill, I would have been a no on the bill. We worked in good faith with President Trump, with Secretary Bessent, with leadership in the Senate and the House, and negotiated a fair deal, $40,000 SALT cap with a $500,000 income limit. So that way it is targeted to the middle class and working class, 1% growth over 5 years. Plus, we fixed the pass-through entity provision to make sure that small businesses are able to deduct their state and local taxes. And I would just point out, this is not just a provision that supports folks in New York, California, New Jersey, where we have high property and state income taxes. This impacts everybody across the country. You've seen in Florida and Texas, for instance, property taxes have exploded. Florida's property taxes are up 37% in 4 years. So this, over the next 5 years, is going to provide real tax relief to middle-class and working-class families all across this country.
So before our interview, you heard Mark Meredith on the North Lawn of the White House there. You remember him from yesterday. You talked to him right after you got off the House floor voting on this bill. You told him then that you pointed out basically that in a number of tax provisions, they often do expire, and that's pretty common in legislating. Well, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez caught that interview, or at least saw it online, and she wrote, "It's not normal. Lawler voted to make the tax breaks on billionaires permanent while making the no tax on tips, just for those making less than $25K, expire in just 3 years. He's also kicking tipped employees off Medicaid, ACA, that's Obamacare, and clawing back their SNAP." So is she wrong about this bill?
Yes, she's entirely wrong. Look, the standard deduction, for instance, which was doubled under the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, is made permanent. This is a huge tax cut for middle class and lower income families all across this country. Obviously, within this bill, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, a senior deduction, a child tax credit expansion. This is targeted towards the middle class and working class and lower income Americans all across this country. In any tax bill, there's always going to be provisions that expire. Some are made permanent. Some of the corporate tax rates, for instance, were made permanent in the last bill. Other provisions expired at the end of this year. That is always a give and take when you are negotiating a tax bill. But the big winners in this bill are low income and middle income working class Americans. And that is why we fought to get this across the finish line. My Democratic colleagues wanted all of that to expire. They wanted to raise income tax rates on every American. They wanted to cut the standard deduction in half. They wanted to cut the child tax credit. They didn't want to give seniors an enhanced tax credit. They did not want to give no tax on tips and no tax on overtime. So for any of my Democratic colleagues who voted no yesterday, which was every single one of them, that's what they voted for. They did not want to cut taxes for the American people, period.
Congressman Mike Lawler, thanks for joining us.